I find it fascinating, this kind of history in South Africa. I mean, these are some of the earliest things that were established. Yeah, so remote. Welcome back to Vanner's View and another trip. For those of you that watched the previous video, you will immediately recognize where I'm pulling away from. This is the Grand Canyon gate at the eastern end of the beautiful Anysberg Nature Reserve. So if you've not watched the previous video, please go and have a look. It was a fantastic ride all the way from Leeuwenbosfontein guest farm through the whole length of the Anysberg Nature Reserve. It is a 50-kilometer ride from gate to gate, and it was simply spectacular. Of course, I started this series of trips already yesterday from Cape Town, and the first trip that I made a video of was the trip from Worcester to Leeuwenbosfontein guest farm. So yeah, please catch up with those videos if you've not seen them. But the trip for today is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. We are now riding this dirt road from the canyon gate of the Anysberg Nature Reserve. Now, for those of you that can remember very well, in the video that I made from Seweweekspoort to Anysberg, I also rode this little stretch of road. This is where I made the wrong turn, and I eventually had to turn around and head back because my destination for that day was Montague. So yes, I'm riding this road again. It is amazingly beautiful, and I will enjoy it again and bring it to you again. I'm sure you will enjoy it with me. But the destination for today is Calitzdorp. Now, Calitzdorp is quite some distance away. I think it's about 105 kilometers or so to ride. But it is what we're going to find on the route that I'm excited about. I'm going to ride today arguably one of the most famous passes in South Africa, and this is the Seweweekspoort. I've never ridden it before, not even driven it with a car, so it is completely new to me. To get there, we're going to ride this dirt road for the next 21 kilometers, and then I'm going to make a right turn onto the R323, which is, I believe, a tar road. That is actually the road that if you make a left turn will take you all the way to Anysberg. But I will make the right turn towards Calitzdorp and the Seweweekspoort. So yeah, I will tell you, of course, more about Seweweekspoort when we get closer, but I've got big expectations. I think from what I've seen, what I've read, this is one of the must-ride passes in the country. So sit back, relax, enjoy this beautiful stretch of road with me once again. These dirt roads are in excellent condition. I can easily cruise at 80 kilometers per hour on my Honda CRF 300. It's just a fantastic cruising bike, especially on dirt roads like this. But yeah, this dirt road, any vehicle can ride comfortably on it. I must say, this part of the Little Karoo, the Little Karoo, is just so beautiful and so well maintained. I mean, all the roads, the Anysberg Nature Reserve that I passed through, everything is just in splendid condition, and one can certainly come and visit it with no worries. Yeah, just look at this splendid valley. This is where I made my stop the previous time. If roads are this beautiful, surely you cannot only ride it once, huh? Yeah. I'm loving this. Yeah, last time that I took these roads, of course, my big problem was that I did not have my map sorted out. As I mentioned in some of my previous videos, I'm making use of Google Maps, which is working very well for me. I just download the offline maps and make sure that I have the correct areas captured, and then I ride. So my map is working perfectly fine now, and I can see it's another 17 kilometers to make the turn onto the R323. Because last time it actually caused me some issues. When I made the wrong turn, I had to turn around, and I almost did not make it to Montague. Because the capacity of this bike, if I ride quite nicely, is about 350 kilometers. And for that stretch, by the time I stopped at the petrol station, it did 352. What amazes me about these roads, apart from how beautiful it is to ride through, is how few cars there are. I just cannot quite understand why we don't see a bit more people. This is not so far away from Cape Town, and this is enjoying beautiful nature on the doorstep of Cape Town. But I'm not complaining. Doing this on my own just adds to the enjoyment. I do have a bit of a headwind, but otherwise the riding conditions are just perfect. I would say the headwind is more like a light breeze, and the temperatures are perfect. It's now around 11 o'clock in the morning, and I think it is probably in the high 20s. So it's just perfect for riding. Oh, just look how this road is disappearing here in between the mountains. It's lovely. Nice sweeping bends to just climb out of this little kloof area. Steep descent. Oh, look at the features of these cliffs here. Yeah, so beautiful. It's like sheets and sheets have been laid to lean against each other. Yeah, so we made it to the R323. So this is the main road going from Anysberg to Calitzdorp. And Calitzdorp is our destination for this trip today. Okay, so here we are. So this dirt road from Anysberg Nature Reserve now links up at the R323 in quite a special place. It seems like the start of two passes. One to the left is Rooi Nekke, and then the one we can take is Wit Nekke. So yeah, as I said, it's quite a dramatic connection point here. The first bit of tar road riding since quite a while, and it's only for some distance, then it becomes a dirt road again. But I will enjoy the bit more relaxed riding on the tar road, especially if it is so beautiful. Yo! Looks like bricks have been laid to build this little cliff area here. Very similar to what I've seen in Pakke's Pass, where it's like blocks. You can see the blocks are built to are stacked. Very, very interesting geological features here. It continues, I mean, on this one as well. Wow. It's like an old wall that's been cracked. Now it must have, in geological time, it must have quite a violent history, this formation of these rocks, because you can see just how it is twisted and turned, the shapes of the mountain peaks and cliffs here. I can already see a car approaching there in the front that is driving on a dirt road. So it was not a long stretch of tar road. If it was 10 kilometers, it's a lot. But I'm not complaining. These dirt roads are fantastic, and getting back onto the dirt roads is good. Yeah, so the dirt roads should now continue. As far as I know, the Seweweekspoort pass is unpaved, so we will have an unpaved or dirt road pass to do. Yeah, this dirt road also looks good. That is Toverkop. Toverkop Peak is the 5th highest peak in the Western Cape province. So it has a height of 2,189 meters. And what is interesting about the peak is that it's actually split at the top. So it's got almost two identical peaks next to each other, but it's just a split in the rock of the uppermost part of the peak. So I think Seweweekpoort Peak is quite a spectacular peak with some interesting features. You cannot see the split from here, but you can see the quite symmetrical dome of the peak of Seweweekpoort Peak. But the Seweweekspoort goes past Seweweekpoort Peak quite closely. And then the Seweweekspoort Peak, I'm not quite sure if it's so visible from here. That is interesting because the Seweweekspoort Peak is the highest peak in the Western Cape Province. At 2,325 meters, it is the highest. Yeah, so it's got a interesting record then for the province. This part of the Swartberge is called the Little Swartberge. It's just on the westernmost part of the Swartberg mountain range. There you can see more of this beautiful green valley with Seweweekpoort right at the background of it. Now we are really close to the mountain now. Yo, that must be a very old house. Yo. Yo, this mountain, it looks like a daunting barrier. You can see that there is a prominent waterfall coming down there. Of course it's dry at the moment. Well, maybe it's not completely dry, but I think it probably looks quite spectacular in winter time when there's lots of rain in this area. The road is certainly starting to twist and turn a bit, but I've not seen an official start of the Seweweekspoort yet. Just look at this beautiful setting for a farm. We've made it now to the start of the Seweweekspoort. This is the Seweweekspoort river. Yo, it's already looking dramatic. Yo. So there's already some information here on the Seweweekspoort. Let's just have a bit of a look what it says. It says Seweweekspoort 1883, altitude 1018 meters. Yeah, this is the start of the Seweweekspoort. You can see the dramatic drop of cliffs and overhangs here in front already. We can maybe just talk a little bit about this poort or pass. It was already started to be built in 1850, so this is really an old pass, and it was, like many of the old passes in South Africa, it was built by convict labor, but there were disruptions in how it was built, so it was actually only completed 12 years later in November 1862. I see Swartberg Nature Reserve, so this is part of a nature reserve in the Swartberg, and we are of course passing the Swartberg now in one of its most westernly points. So this is quite a prominent mountainous area in the Western Cape. Yeah, look at that. It's almost like it's overhanging, like it's going to drop on you. The pass is 17.7 kilometers long. It's quite a distance to ride. And I expect it to be like this, twisting and turning, dirt road. Beautiful. So from this side it seems like it is quite a descent. So typically when we talk about a poort, it means that it's not really a pass, meaning that you don't have to go up and over the crest and then down again. That is certainly how Amalienstein, which is further to the east, goes through the Swartberg mountains. So I just assume that Seweweekspoort might be the same kind of features, but maybe there is some up and down, I don't know. We are certainly going down quite a bit now, while we are getting more into the Swartberg. But these rock features, it's just amazing. It looks like this road has recently been scraped as well, so it's in a very good condition. You can see that this is following probably the flow of the river, twisting and turning through. The name of this Seweweekspoort, there's a few theories for this, but the most likely naming is actually a little bit by accident, and it is linked to a person called Louis Zervik. Now, Louis Zervik was a prominent person associated with the Berlin Missionary Society, and we will later also pass some towns that are linked to the Berlin Missionary Society. But this Louis Zervik was a prominent person of the area, and I think initially they referred to this poort as Zerweekspoort, but in the vernacular of the area it later then became the Seweweekspoort. Yeah, so the name of the port is thus closely linked to, I suppose, a mispronunciation of what it was initially referred to as Zerweekspoort. Then it becomes the Seweweekspoort, and of course Sewe weeks means 7 weeks, and so it's the Seweweekspoort. It is clear that this does not go up, so it is truly a poort, and it makes for relatively easy riding. Yeah, it really twists and turns. You can see how it goes through. You can anticipate how the road will go. There's a little turn in the road here. Let me just see whether there's a place to just make a stop to stretch some legs. There's a wonderful rock overhang here. Quite nice. Let me stop here. Yeah, that was now quite a nice leg stretch. I had a good drink of water. So let's continue with the Seweweekspoort. I think it is still quite a few kilometers to go. So this twisting road through the impressive rocks are continuing. I must say it is quite hot making a stop. There's no wind and the sun is baking down. It is now almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so there's not lots of shadows here. Getting onto the bike and getting some wind flowing again is more a bit of a relief. You can see how the rocks have broken off and tumbled down a bit. I always find it interesting to see how things have happened. Yeah, so this road is still the R323, and when we exit the pass we should link onto the R62 again. Now, of course, the R62 is the famous road through the interior of South Africa, going through most of the Western Cape Province and the Eastern Cape Province. So we will ride on the R62 for a bit to get to Calitzdorp. This is an important road, beautiful road. It's also referred to as Route 62. Our next stop is at the ancient towns of Zuhar and Amalienstein. These are two missionary station towns that were already established in 1817. So it predates, I suppose, the pass and also Calitzdorp and so on. So these are really old mission stations, and they are the same kind of towns like other mission station towns like Genadendal and Wuppertal. Yeah, so it's interesting. The South African Missionary Society actually established these towns, but they were run by the Berlin Missionary Society. And I think this is where Louis Zerwick was associated with these missionary towns, and he had some link to this poort, and of course how Seweweekspoort became then Seweweekspoort. So there's a strong connection with the Berlin Missionary Society. So I'm just going to make a quick detour. Just want to go and have a look at what the missionary church in Amalienstein looks like. Apparently the lady that was quite instrumental in the funding of these missionary towns, her name is Amalia von Stein, so obviously from German aristocracy background. And this is then also where at least the town of Amalienstein, the name came from. Yeah, I think that the Seweweekspoort is opening up there in front a bit, but it's still a few twists and turns to get through these cliffs. Yeah, and suddenly I think we are out of the Seweweekspoort. Now this is an easy ride, I must say, very easy. Downhill all the way. It is certainly a poort, so it's not a pass. You don't have steep inclines and descents and so on. It's actually quite easy to just pass through the Swartberg here. Oh, look at this rune here. Wonder if this might be related to some toll house, because I know in the old days in these poorts and passes there was always a toll that you had to pay to get through. Yeah, so this road should have a bit more traffic. This is the board signaling Amalienstein. So let me just make a turn here. Now there's certainly a beautiful church building here to the right. Maybe this was the yellow church, because I see the fence is still yellow. It might have been painted, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's got prominent clock towers here. Yeah, just look at it. This church, I can only assume, is the missionary church of Amalienstein. I'm not sure how old it is. It certainly looks very old. This mission station was, as I mentioned, already established around 1817. And just look at this church. I mean, it's got the feeling of authentic oldness, maybe even feeling a bit ancient. No? I find this interesting. I mean, I find it fascinating, this kind of history in South Africa. I mean, these are some of the earliest things that were established. This is quite far into the interior of South Africa, and yeah, so remote. Now I think this must have been the yellow church. This wall is still a distinct yellow, and it's got two of these clock towers, so you can see there's a clock there, but symmetrically situated to this one. There's also a clock on that side. I just made a quick stop here in the shade in Amalienstein, with the backdrop of the beautiful ancient church there in the background, just to stretch a bit of legs and maybe take a sip of water again. But maybe it is also a good time to maybe just talk a little bit more about my motorbike. I said in previous videos I will tell you a little bit more about this motorcycle, why I have it, what I've done to modify it a bit. So maybe I can tell you what I did next. In the previous video I told you about the first things I did to modify this Honda CRF 300 Rally was to add the handle protectors, the hand protectors, as well as the pannier racks, and that is mainly to protect the bike. If the bike falls over, then all the important parts are protected. But let me show you what I installed next, because this is pretty important for me. As you no doubt would have noticed already, of course, my phone is here, actually in a prominent position, because I use it as a GPS. Now it is consistently on, so as long as I'm riding it must be on, so it must be charged. And so the question immediately comes, how easy is it to connect power up for things like the GPS? And I can say that it is actually quite easy. I'm not sure whether you can see, but There are USB ports down there. I hope the light is not reflecting it too badly, but there are USB ports there where I can use it. But those USB ports does not come with the bike. But what it does have, if you have a closer look down here, there are some electrical connections there that plug in with a certain plug, and then you can connect up these USB connectors, and they are then connected not straight to the battery, they are connected to the alternator, so it only charges while the bike is on and running. So this is then to me, key to have it. There's not only the GPS or the phone that needs to be charged, but there are other important things like the batteries for the cameras that I use, and also the batteries for the drone, and even the controller of the drone. And that is why I need quite a number of cables, some of them USB-C, some of them the iPhone connector, and they all come into this bag where I charge the batteries that I need to charge. Together with that, I also had to mount the phone. So you can see that the phone actually mounts here with the unit straight onto this bar, which is a feature of the CRF. Now this connector is the SP Connect, and this is by far the best connector for phones and so on that I've ever seen. So you can see this is a unit made out of metal, so it is so tightly fixed that I can shake the whole bike with this. And then it comes with the SP Connect connector, and also it is then a case for the phone that has that connector. And another interesting thing is you also buy this unit, which is actually a vibrating dampener. So apparently if you have your phone on your motorbike for extended periods, the vibration of the engine can cause the stabilization function of the camera of the phone. But this then just twists in quite easily. You fix it there, you twist it, and then the whole phone is connected. And you would have seen from the bumpy roads I take that this is a great way to connect it. I must just mention that all of these things, the electrical connections, the phone, the SP Connect, the protectors, the handle protectors, as well as the pannier racks, were all done by Flying Brick in Cape Town. Flying Brick motorcycle store in Cape Town did all these modifications so far that I did on the Honda CRF. They are recommended by Honda, and they know the CRF Honda. So if you are interested to make similar kind of modifications, you can go to Flying Brick with a clear conscience. They will do a great job. And I will also put just a link to their website on, so if you want to go and check it out, please go. Yeah, so these are some of the early modifications I did to the bike. I certainly did more things, and in some other videos I will just show you a bit more about it and some more details. But please send me your comments. Do you appreciate maybe me sharing more of this? Some of you have also asked me some tips on solo riding. I'm not an expert, but I'm certainly going to share some more thoughts with you on what I've learned in my trip so far. Okay, let's continue. Calitzdorp is the next stop. I'm looking for lunch. I'm getting a bit hungry. Let's see whether I can catch something in Calitzdorp. We are leaving Amalienstein behind, and I'm catching up again with the R62, which will now take us all the way to Calitzdorp. We've climbed quite a bit. We are now entering the Huisrivier Pass on the R62, so I expect there to be quite a steady descent from here. I must say, this Huisrivier Pass is a really interesting ride. I was not aware of this pass even, so this is like a bonus pass for this video. What a ride! What a ride! Hey! There are some proper hairpin bends here. No, the Huisrivier Pass, this is an exciting pass to ride, especially if you're going down like I'm going down now. We are now riding into the town of Calitzdorp, and one thing that is quite prominent is the beautiful Dutch Reformed Church of Calitzdorp. It is a brownish color, so it might be a bit hidden away, but I mean, when I'm riding now I can clearly see it. Now, you know me, I like going to look at the most historic buildings in these small towns, and it is typically your Dutch Reformed Church in this part of the world, so I will take a bit of a ride there. But yeah, this is Calitzdorp. So Calitzdorp is one of the most prominent towns on the R62. Now, if we just look a little bit at the history of this town, it was already established in 1831. So 1831, the Calitz brothers, there were two brothers with the surname Calitz, they made this area available for a town. Then in 1853, some more space was made for a church to be built, which was not this church. Look at this. One thing that Calitzdorp is extremely famous for is the fortified wines or port that is produced here. Calitzdorp is also called the port capital of South Africa. Oh, this is a beautiful little town. You can see there is old things here. There's history. Just look at this. This is beautiful. Let's just head to the church. In 1853, some space or ground were made available, some area for the church to be built, and the church was promptly built in the 1850s. But that church was relatively small, and it quickly, as the town grew, the church was not big enough anymore. So the church that we see today is a more modern church. It was built in 1910. Well, it's well past 100 years, about 115 years old already. But it's a significantly larger church. It can seat 2,000 people, so it's a big church. And I think it's a very beautiful focal point for the town of Calitzdorp. Beautiful. This trip has brought me now to Calitzdorp. I just made a stop here next to this beautiful Dutch Reformed church. This also brings me then to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this trip. We departed there from the Grand Canyon Gate at the Anysberg Nature Reserve, and I was looking forward to for a long time to ride the Seweweekspoort, and it was a great experience. And I think a little bonus here at the end to get the Huisrivier Pass there on the R62, and then also to see some beautiful things here in Calitzdorp was very good. So thank you very much for joining me on this trip. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And then until the next video, which will be the departing from Calitzdorp. And then until next time, keep well. Bye-bye.